All right, Justin, the floor is yours. Walk me through Transistor.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Justin Jackson from Transistor.fm, and today I'm going to be showing you Transistor and why it's a great place to start a podcast, import an existing podcast. The first thing you'll see in our dashboard is that you can host multiple podcasts on Transistor from a single account. Unlike other providers, we don't charge you for creating additional shows. And making a new show is as simple as clicking that icon in the upper right, clicking configure new podcast, and we could give it a name, give it a description, and then upload your artwork. And what I've loved about this is it's given me the opportunity to experiment with different shows.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, the best way to increase the number of downloads you get every month is to start an additional show, whether that's, maybe you have a long form show, but you also want to have a short version of that podcast as well. Some people do like, here's the long version, and then here's like the highlight version.
Okay.
So yeah, we have the ability to just do this fairly quickly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then you're right into it there. And the other thing is you can invite additional people to any podcast you create. So we have agency owners who are creating podcasts for their customers. They'll just create the show the way I just did, but then they'll invite their clients who can then upload episodes, see analytics. We have kind of three different permission levels: member, analytics only, and admin. And when they log in, they will only see the podcasts they've been assigned to.
Very cool.
We also have a lot of brands and corporate accounts that are, doing lots of different podcasts inside the company, and they want to, have certain people assigned to certain shows. And even as simple as, you might start on our starter plan and you just have friends that want to start a podcast, and you want, hey, why don't you just come on my account for free, and you can, you can host your friends' shows as well. We're fine with all of that.
That's amazing.
So here in my account, I've got multiple podcasts, and this is the show here actually that my business partner and I did while we were building the company. In the first year of the company, we shared everything: our revenue numbers, our the wins, the loses, the struggles. And I think that's actually a really great model for business podcasts, is to vulnerably share kind of your real stats. And you can kind of see actually in the show, this is what our analytics look like. We give you your average for downloads for your first 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. A lot of advertisers are looking for that number.
Mm-hmm.
Then we estimate how many subscribers you've had over time. And so for this show, it's about 1,400. And then I love this because you can kind of see the arc of our show. So this is when we started Transistor, and then we kind of reached the peak of the story right here. And then this right here, when the downloads go down, is when we weren't posting as often. We're just kind of bringing it into an occasional show that we post to, but the analytics are all there. They tell the story. This is the main arc of the podcast.
That's so cool.
We have this burn down chart that I think is fascinating, where you can see every day since you launched an episode, how many downloads does it get? And sometimes what you'll get is you'll have these little pockets where maybe you sent out a newsletter or something, and you'll get a surge of downloads. And so this allows you to see kind of your first day or two, and we call that the release window, right? The combined downloads from the first day plus the following day. But then you also get to see if there's any like jump in downloads further down the line after you've released an episode.
No, that's super cool. And also I could see that being really useful if something else were to happen that you didn't even do. So you can go in and try to find out what that was or where that came from. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah. And we saw this with one of our customers, is this podcast called Acquired, and they just were featured in the Wall Street Journal,
Okay.
and they just had a massive surge of downloads once they were featured in the Wall Street Journal.
Mm.
And so their burn down chart reflected that. They saw, on day whatever 18 of their most recent episode, there's this big jump. You can also click through on these episodes and get detailed analytics on what's happened. So if I wanted to compare this episode to my most recent episode, I can see like, wow, the first couple days of this particular episode were much greater than this one. And then we also had this bump right here. You can also see it with cumulative downloads, right?
Super
Oh,
nice.
wow. This episode here is outperforming my most recent episode by quite a bit.
Yeah, that's wicked to see that at a glance super quickly.
And you can also do this with podcast players. You can reference this by last 60 days, last 90 days. Just going back to here, we also have episode breakdown where you can filter these by, how many downloads does an episode get in the first 30 days and what's my most popular episode. Can I do that for, all time? Can I do it for the first 7 days, first 14 days? All of that information is right there. And you can export that as a CSV file with all of these date filters as well. So and it happens almost immediately. Almost all of the charts you can see here are exportable as CSV. So we have a lot of people that need to report to their boss or to a producer, or even just for their own. They want to
Tracking.
crunch the numbers in Excel. You can do that easily there. Here's podcast players over time, and you can filter this if you'd like. So if I wanted to remove, some of these top players and just see Apple a little bit more clear, I can do that. This is also, you get all the same date filters there. Then we also have devices, desktop versus mobile versus desktop app, mobile browser, and even smartwatch. And then which platforms. So iOS versus Android, Mac OS, Windows, Watch OS, and Linux is down there with 1%. And then we also have global listener locations. You can hover over each country and see how many downloads you've done. But then down here on the bottom, you can see your popularity in each country. And then for almost all of them, you can also see that broken down at a state or province level.
That's wicked.
This is also exportable as CSV.
Nice.
The other thing I really like about Transistor is we make it easy when you're starting a new show to submit it to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. So before you submit anywhere, you need an episode. So I could just create my first episode. So upload this. You can do custom artwork if you want. Got some show notes here. We also have these, for advanced users, we have these tags you can put in, which will dynamically insert. For example, in this case, if I had some guests on this show, I can insert this people tag, and it'll automatically list them in my show notes. And I can add those people down here. This works with the podcast 2.0 tags, so you can have all your guests and hosts and stuff. I'll show you that a bit later.
Sounds good.
For now, I'm just going to publish this episode. So one thing about Transistor, fast upload speeds, fast download speeds, and fast processing speeds.
Love that.
That process almost instantly. It's also available for AI transcription almost immediately. And this is also quite fast. Usually happens within a couple minutes. You can transcribe a full episode, have it ready. Look, it's already done. Wow. I can identify all the speakers. In this case, it's just me. So I'll put Justin, and quickly look through this, make sure it all looks good. I can make edits if there's anything that I want to edit. I can split paragraphs. I can, combine paragraphs, but I'm just going to save these changes instantly now. I've got SRT file, which I can also download. This is how I actually transcribe all my videos I upload to YouTube. I just
Nice.
upload them
Put 'em in here.
Transistor, download it. But we've got all the formats available instantly. JSON, text. If you wanted to grab your transcript and put it into ChatGPT right away, you could do that. It's available all right there. And this is also, if you're using our built-in website, this is available instantly. In fact, if we go to that social media landing page, here's the episode all ready to go. And look, that transcript is already there with timestamps. So when I click on these timestamps, it updates the URL. And so now when I share this particular link, it's automatically going to be at that timestamp in the player.
That's wicked.
It's really fun. Okay, so we were talking about distribution. Yeah. So I've just uploaded my first episode, brand new podcast. I'm excited to get it everywhere, Apple, Spotify, etc. Well, for any podcast player or directory that has an API, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pocket Casts, Podcast Addict, you can just go through each of these and submit one after the other. Now, sometimes you might not want to, maybe I don't want my podcast on the podcast index, but you definitely should have it on there. But maybe Podchaser, I don't want to do that, but I'll submit it to Listen Notes. Well, it all happens right away. And almost immediately, if the API is fast on Spotify's side, for example, it'll be available on Spotify.
Wow.
Apple Podcasts, still a manual process.
Yeah.
We're working with them on that, but
nice.
You have to sign into Podcast Connect. Once you've signed into Podcast Connect and submitted it there, which we do recommend that you do. A lot of people skip Apple Podcasts. It's still so important because a lot of these other directories like Overcast, Castro, Castbox are still using the Apple Podcast directory.
They feed from it, right?
That's right. As soon as you've submitted it to Apple, though, we will notice it. We'll see when it's live in the directory, and we'll automatically backfill all of these that use the Apple Podcast directory. But I just love the simplicity of just being able to submit right away. You don't need to, Google, how do I submit my podcast to Pocket Casts?
Yes.
Just click the button. It's done.
Yeah, no, that's amazing just to get through it all because that's enough friction for a lot of people to stop. So it becomes very easy this way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We also have a podcast website that we include with every podcast you start. It's just included for free. We've got a variety of templates you can choose. And so, for example, I might want to choose this one here. Just click save. I can preview it right away. It'll give me, my latest episode. We've got the artwork right here. Any place that I've submitted to that's already given us a response back that it's active, it'll give us a badge right away. But as all of those other players like Pocket Casts index the show, that will get listed right there right away. And I can customize this as well. I can customize the colors. I can customize the logo, social sharing image. I can even use Fathom Analytics or Google Analytics inside of here. Lots of options. And a lot of people wanted to be able to add additional pages and links. You can do that as well.
Okay.
So instead of paying for WordPress or Squarespace and podcast hosting, you can just do it all in one place. We have lots of folks switching just for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a custom domain that you've registered, it's no extra cost to connect that custom domain to your Transistor podcast. We'll automatically provide a SSL certificate for it. So yeah, we have folks that are, instead of having a website separate, they're just using the Transistor website, customizing it, and Yeah, then it's simple. And then every time you publish an episode, instead of having to go into WordPress and recreate it there,
It's all
it
one
just
place.
automatically appears your uh, on your website, which is really great.
That's awesome.
Let me go back and show you that people tab.
Yeah.
So this is every guest and every person who's ever worked on the Build Your SaaS podcast. There's Chris, our editor. There's myself. There's my co-founder, John. There's Jason, who's on our team, and then a bunch of guests. What I love about this is you can create these folks in here, and it will automatically, and then you can assign episodes to them. So I'm trying to think of someone that I haven't added yet. You can add them from Twitter, which is really great. So I can add Albin as a person, load from X. It brings in his information. It automatically brings in everything in his photo, everything, his full name. I can choose, is he a guest, an editor, whatever. He's a guest. And then I can assign him to different episodes.
That's wicked.
And what I love about this is then you have on the website, so here's the Build Your SaaS website, and you can go to the People tab, and here's all of, everybody who's ever been on the show. Well, I might, Helen is our head of customer success. I might want to see just the episodes she's been on. I can click on her, and now I've got a list of the 4 episodes she's been on. So we're using these people tags in a way that is, actually adds to the listener experience. Plus, every episode now, so if we go to my most recent episode, I've got all of my show notes, all my timestamps, but then I have creators and guests here at the bottom. So we always have, we always have them listed on everything we do, even if you're not using our website and you're just using those social media landing pages, we will also list your guests down here as well. And then people, if they want to find out more about that guest, they can go and find them on Twitter, on their website. This has been really awesome to have this here.
Yeah, that's unreal. That's a big problem that a lot of people have, is finding people or filtering through content for specific people. So that's awesome. I was like smiling through the whole time because that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I love that we've done, one thing we realized when we were doing this show, and I think this is actually true for most independent podcasts, is that instead of looking to get advertisers, you'd be better, your energy would be better spent trying to get Patreon supporters.
Mm.
And we built this Patreon integration. And then in order to test it, we applied it to the Build Your SaaS show. And I was surprised, here's the show about 2 guys starting a business. I didn't think anyone would support us. Even for a show where we publish, it looks like every 3 months, our last episode is February 9th, 2024. We still have Patreon supporters that are just super excited to support us every month. And you'll notice that they're listed here automatically.
Mm.
The way that happens is once you enable this Patreon integration, down here in my show notes, you'll see I just have one of these tags I was telling you about, supporters. And so every time we publish an episode, I don't have to go to Patreon and see who's still active, who's still supporting us. I just put in that supporters tag, and then it automatically pulls those folks in. And another trick we discovered is that, initially we had all these bonus content features for supporters. We realized, and I think this is broadly applicable, most people that are supporting a show, they just want a shout out at the end. That's all they want. And so we've had these supporters that we've been shouting out at the end of the show for hundreds of episodes now. And it became kind of a bit in the show. Like people were kind of looked forward to it. We had little things we would do for certain people. Like Dave Junta has been one of our longtime supporters. And I would always go, Dave Junta. And, some of these people have gone to conferences, and have been recognized
From the shout outs.
just from the shout outs.
That's amazing.
So yeah, this integration is, and we actually have, you'll notice that we have the supporters listed down here as well. And people can click on that and say, join these supporters. We also list them here. If they have an image, an avatar will show that. And then a button where they can support on Patreon right away. So you have a call to action on your website.
That's wicked. No, that's awesome. And it's so true how big of an impact just simply saying someone's name or including them in the content can have. So it makes it really easy. If you like what you've seen so far from Transistor and you want to give it a try, you can do so completely for free at no risk to you using the link in the description box and the pinned comment of this video. And if you have any questions for us or Justin, let us know in the comments and we'll get back to you. Let's get back into the video.
Now, if you are looking to do ads, we have a different take on dynamic ad insertion.
Okay.
So a lot of ad tech platforms that are also hosting providers, they want to take a chunk of your ad revenue. And that's because they're generally sourcing the advertisers for you. We decided to be a bit opinionated about this. I think if you're running an independent show, you're better served to find your own advertisers that connect with your audience, that are a good fit for your audience, and sourcing those ad deals yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The platforms are going to take a big chunk. Usually it's 30%. Plus, you're often going to get a mismatch when it comes to the advertiser and your audience. And a lot of these dynamically inserted ads are not awesome. They're like, a really loud ad for a car or something, or a chocolate bar when, in this case, this is a show for startup people, tech people, software developers. I don't want some cheesy ad for Twix in my podcast. And so you can create your own ad campaigns on Transistor. So here's my 2024 spring campaign. And I can just add my own ads. In this case, and this is the other thing, I'm running ads for Transistor for my own brand.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I use this for announcements. Like if we have a special sale coming on, like Black Friday, I think I have a Black Friday ad right here. So if Black Friday is coming up, I just swap out the pre-roll here for that Black Friday pre-roll. Mm-hmm. And it automatically goes through my whole back catalog, removes that other ad, puts this one in, and now I'm promoting the Black Friday sale.
Love that.
You can add multiple pre-rolls and multiple mid-rolls. And we tried to make this as simple as possible. So you just upload all of the different ads you have as MP3 files, and then you can choose it for each of these slots. The other thing we've done is we have dynamic show notes. So you can dynamically insert a message at the top of your show notes or at the bottom. And if you are always listing out your sponsors, for example, at the bottom, just put it in here. If you've got a Black Friday sale that's coming up, you can just put, check out our Black Friday sale, link to it, and that'll automatically get inserted in all your notes. As soon as that sale's done, you remove it. We automatically take it out of your show notes.
That's huge. I think a lot of podcasters don't take full advantage of like these kinds of things because you don't necessarily even need a sponsor, like you said, to be promoting something. There's always something that you could be bringing attention to. And so that's a really fast way to do that. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it's underrated in terms of like, we always think about DAI, ads, podcast ads, as, I'm just looking for that Squarespace sponsor so I can make a bit of money.
Yeah.
And there are so many other ways you can leverage this. If you're doing an event somewhere, promote it on your podcast.
100%.
If you've got a newsletter and you're trying to get more subscribers, promote it on your podcast. And you can do it in your own voice. Sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? I want people to know about this. Mm-hmm. And I'll just go and record something quick. Hey, everybody, it's Justin. Just wanted to jump in here to say, I want you to check this out. The link is in the show notes. All right, now on to the show. I can do that, have it go into my back catalog easily, Or if I want to, I can even just schedule it. We have this idea of schedules here as well. So you can just have a campaign that just applies to your every episode and every episode moving forward. So if we go in here, you can see I can apply this to select episodes or all episodes. And that would mean moving forward, it would automatically get applied to any new episode I publish.
Very cool.
But folks like Acquired is actually such a great example of this. They do a seasonal sponsorship for the current season they're on. And they've got an amazing audience. And this is all public, by the way. But if you look in this case study I wrote, they have sponsorship packages that it's $750,000 to be a presenting sponsor. And then they sell 2 other sponsorship slots for $500,000 each.
Wow.
And that's sold out until the next season. But then they also sell back catalog, and they're using that campaigns feature I just showed you to monetize their back catalog. And so what they're doing is they just, on select episodes, they're just going through, and it's like, oh, well, this is our current season, so I'll unselect those. And now we're monetizing our entire back catalog. And in their case, that's $40,000 per month per sponsor.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about in terms of course, not everybody is going to be able to do sponsorships at that level, but because they're running their own ad sales, they're able to keep all of that. They're able to figure out the structure of that, and they found one that works. And then they can use this dynamic ad insertion feature to do that.
Oh, that's amazing. And also, I love the piece that you mentioned about doing your own ad acquisition as an independent podcaster, because I think one of the biggest problems with advertising online is that so many people operate on like a CPM or an RPM based model. And that's just not how podcasts work. Like, that's a prime example to show you just said that the depth of the audience and the quality of the audience is so different than most other mediums. So selling it like an RPM model, it's not really doing the podcaster justice. So I love how this gives you some creativity and freedom to really turn it into a business.
That's right. And just for a bit of extra work, it's a bit of
tiny
networking, relationship building, proving yourself. Often, if you've got a great show where people are regularly responding to your content, there might be an opportunity for you to monetize that audience directly.
For sure. Absolutely.
You could also set a schedule. So if you want to just do a spring campaign, have it start at the beginning of spring and automatically end at the end of spring, you can do that. And when it ends, Transistor will automatically just remove all those ads. You're back to your pure MP3s. Here's what I was talking about when you can upload your ads here, and then you can also track how many impressions on that particular ad you've done.
Cool.
And then we also have analytics here where you can view your campaigns, see how many impressions you've done, if it's up or down, whether they're active or inactive. And so we have people running fairly, in-depth campaigns, and they're just using Transistor for all of that.
That's wicked.
The only other thing, there's a few other things I haven't showed you. We have this integrations tab here. So like I said, you can use Fathom Analytics or Google Analytics with your built-in website, with your embeds, and with those sharing pages I showed you. So if you want to track web views and things like that, you can do that. We also connect with ConvertKit, MailChimp, etc. if you want to build a newsletter list. And so here on this website at the bottom, we have that join our newsletter section. If you use our built-in website, we always have a spot for you to build your newsletter. And that's just automatic. You just connect your account and you're good to go. Here's that Patreon integration I told you about. Apple Podcast subscriptions. There's another way you can monetize your podcast directly. If you want to charge for bonus episodes, if you want to charge for, just a paid podcast, you can manage all of that in Transistor. And actually, do I have an example of that? Oh yeah, here it is. So here you can see I can decide whether what kind of episode this is. Is this, early access episode? Is this a bonus paid episode? Is this a free episode? You can determine all of that inside Transistor. Oh, and then here's that screen I was telling you about before. So all of the different email providers you can connect with. Twitter, we can auto post to Twitter. YouTube, you can auto post to YouTube as well. And we also have our own API. So if you're a software developer or you know one and you want to build something custom, you can use our API to do that. And then we also integrate with Zapier and Make. If you have some automations, if you're one of those people that want to, you publish an episode and then you want 20 things to happen in Notion or something, you can do that there too.
That's amazing. That's awesome to have built in all of those tools. It basically checks every box that you'd want for marketing and managing and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then on the video front, let's see. I think this is a good example here. By the way, here's that campaign we were talking about, that dynamic ad campaign. And ad locations are just really simple to set. So right now I have a pre-roll and a post-roll on here.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted to add a mid-roll, let's say around here, I could listen for a good spot. I can add that location and, I do it like this. Click the plus button. Now I've got that mid-roll ad location, click save. And all I have to do now is reprocess the audio. And now I've got that mid-roll location there. So a lot of these dynamic ad insertion tools are also quite expensive. Like just to get dynamic ad insertion, you have to spend hundreds of dollars. And it's available on our mid-tier plan, which starts at $49.
Okay.
So if you're looking for accessible ad insertion, we believe we've got the most affordable and the simplest to manage. And a lot of folks have switched to us
for that.
Acquired actually was one of them that switched to us from a more sophisticated system to our simpler system, just so it was simpler.
Yeah.
Right?
No, there's value in simplicity for sure, because there's enough complications everywhere else. You want the tools to work for you.
That's right. So down here, here's a good example. We also have the ability to embed a YouTube URL. And so if you want to just distribute your podcast as an audio podcast on YouTube, you can use that integration I talked about, that YouTube auto posting. You can define a thumbnail, choose your category, choose your playlist. So you could determine a podcast playlist and then have it automatically add there.
Nice.
But a lot of people now are making, they're doing video, right? Let's say this was the interview here. So I'm just going to grab this and go back to my episode here. And here we'll show it, I bet you. Yeah, so I've got a YouTube URL right there. So now when we click on either the social media landing page or the website, we've embedded that YouTube video. And we think this is kind of the answer, right? So video and podcasting, Apple Podcasts has actually had video support for a long time. But when most people talk about video and podcasting, really they're talking about YouTube.
For sure.
So again, in an opinionated sort of way, what is actually the simplest and best way for podcasters to have a podcast and then distribute it on YouTube as well? Upload your audio version to Transistor. We distribute it everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts. And then upload the video version to YouTube and then just embed it on your website. And then it's right there, right?
It's all connected, yeah.
It's all connected. And we've also got our YouTube channel listed as one of the places you can find our podcast.
Cool.
If we went to the website page for here, you'll see we've got the, all my show notes. Again, that transcript. If I wanted to share a specific spot, I can do that. It even pops up down here at the right spot. But then, and I've got all my badges if I want to watch on YouTube, but then we embed it here as well. So it's just all available on one page, and you get the benefit of both, right? If I find this page, if I'm searching for podcasts about Acquired and I land here and I've got both options, I can listen to the audio version right here, or I can click through on YouTube. We think that's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everything's just easy access, pick your flavor and go at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you have any other questions or thoughts on what I've shown you so far?
No, honestly, I think everything was incredibly straightforward. I think you did a great job presenting how you can put the tools to use for your specific situation and how different podcasters can approach tools in different ways. So no, I don't really have any questions based on that. Is there anything else that people typically really love about Transistor that you like to highlight that we haven't already?
Yeah, I think we are one of the best at doing private podcasts.
Okay.
So here's a private podcast demo. And private podcasts, we have this idea of subscribers. And what I love about this is, let's say you have a private podcast that's members only. You've got your own private community, or you've got your own coaching program, or you've got maybe just you're doing an audiobook and you want to do a pre-release just for certain folks. Right here, you can send this link to folks either as a part of a automated email sequence, or you can message it to them. A lot of teams are saying during their onboarding, we have an employee podcast, and if you want to opt into that, here's the link. They put in their email address. So let's just put mine in there now. And they will get a welcome email that then allows them to open up that private podcast and add it directly to Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts or Overcast, anywhere that supports a private podcast.
That's really good. So only through that link, obviously, right? Because you can't get it any other way.
That's right. That's right. So here's the welcome email, and you get like a little blurb. You can have your artwork there. We also give private subscribers, this is unique to us. What we found, especially in a corporate context, is the employee's inbox is actually their podcast player.
Okay.
Like they don't have a podcast player where there's they're scanning feeds all the time. So if you do a message from the president and you want them to listen, you've got to make that accessible in the web browser. So right here, they can click through, they get a custom page just for them, and they can play that in the browser. Now, what we've given up there, again, you got to be opinionated, is could you technically share this link? You could. But we look at private podcasts or internal podcasts the same way that we look at private email. So every time I send you a private email and I say, listen, Ben, this is in confidence, don't share it, it's easy to forward it, right?
Yes.
And even if we went through all of the effort to say, you know what, no, we're going to lock this down, we're going to make sure that it's encrypted end to end, it's really easy to scrape audio, to have a screen recorder or something else. So anything you put on the internet has the potential of being shared. But what we're doing here is this is all trackable. So as soon as I listen to this episode here, and I'm going to jump ahead here and listen to the whole thing, as soon as I listen to that, it's tracked on Transistor. You can see, oh, this person has listened to that episode, in this case, in the web browser.
Okay.
The other thing I love is that people can go back and listen to episodes they haven't heard yet. So if this is an employee training onboarding sequence and you're like, listen, you got to listen to this one and you got to listen to this one, they can go through on the web and listen to them. But they could also do it in their podcast player. So depending on where you open it, if I open it on desktop, I'm going to get a list of, on the Mac, which podcast apps support private podcasts. You'll see there's a QR code here. If I scan that on my phone, it's going to open it up and it's going to tell me which podcast apps on my phone I could add it to. Okay. Apple Podcasts, Downcast, Overcast. So it makes it really easy for employees, team members, private subscribers to add the podcast feed to their existing player, either by scanning that, or they could open up the email on their phone and click through on that way.
Okay.
So this whole process here, we've tried to make it really simple to onboard private subscribers, but then also keep them engaged with these emails. So every time now I publish a new episode, if I uploaded a new episode, there's an option here that says send all 4,700 all 4,715 subscribers an email when this is published.
Okay.
So you can notify them, here's an episode, click here to listen to it in your browser. Way more effective. Engagement rates went way up when we launched this feature, especially for companies that are using it for like message from the CEO, training, podcasts. There's a lot of, there's like trucking companies that use it for, you have to have X number of training credits.
Okay.
And so the truckers will just listen to it while they're in the truck. They'll get their training credits on the road.
That's wicked. Yeah, because with any internal podcast or private podcast, you just want to make sure people listen to it. And so if you remove as many excuses as possible, you're going to increase how many people actually listen to it. So it seems like you guys have achieved that.
And they can also track themselves, their progress through something. So they'll be able to see which ones they've listened to. And then we also have analytics for private podcasts. And again, you're going to have, I really love this part here where we have a list for this episode. How many people on your list have listened? How many people have not listened? And then you can export this as a CSV file. And so, maybe you're on Microsoft Teams, but you want to make sure that these people have listened. Export that as CSV, bring it into Microsoft Teams, send those folks a reminder email. Hey, listen, remember to get your training stage 4, you need to listen to this, and you can keep driving engagement that way.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think you guys are right. You guys do private podcasting right. That's amazing.
You can also see, so in this case, we can track how many times people have downloaded an episode, and it's not uncommon. For example, Helen here has probably listened in her car and on multiple devices. She's on our team, so she's probably also testing it out on multiple devices.
Yep.
So you can see, if someone, for example, starts getting hundreds of downloads per episode, it might be an example of they've shared a link that they shouldn't have, and you can then remove that subscriber. And then once they've been removed, they'll no longer have access to the podcast. Their unique RSS feed is now removed. All of their landing pages, everything, they can't access anything. And then you can also see what's their listening history, right? Which episodes have they listened to? So yeah, that's the analytics. You can also see what players people are using. You can also choose to embed an episode if you'd like, which would then make it semi-public, or some people are just doing it, embedding an episode on their team wiki or something like that. So that's an option. We can't track on an individual level in that case who's listened, but if you want to have an embed player, you can do that.
Okay.
And then all the other things are still true. You can still invite a team to that podcast. You can still run dynamic ad campaigns. You can still use a lot of our integrations. So if you still want to, have dynamic ads announcing, hey folks, we got the company picnic coming up on Monday, you can use those same features here in private podcasts.
Wicked. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's Transistor. Host as many podcasts as you want on one account, and invite your friends, invite your coworkers, invite your co-host, whoever you want to do a show with, and start either a public podcast, a private podcast, or a premium podcast in the case of Patreon or Apple premium subscriptions.
100%. Yeah. And so is there any limit on how many private podcasts you can do, or is that also unlimited?
Private podcast, you can start as many as you want.
Okay.
But just like regular email software, we gate it by subscribers. So right from the starter plan, you get X number of subscribers. On the mid-tier plan, you get more. And on the advanced plan, you get even more.
Okay.
And our AI transcription tool is also an add-on. So for $5 per month, you get a set number of hours every month for AI transcription. Okay. And then if you go over that, you can upgrade to the next level up. People have really loved that feature just because it's easy. You just add it, then you're just getting one bill from Transistor. So, your $19 plan plus $5 for transcription, you're $24 a month. You're all set. You don't have to pay for anything else.
Amazing.
The only other integrations I didn't show you are the ones that are in Descript and Riverside. You can export directly from their episode here in Descript. and I want to click publish, and I want to publish, I want to export this to right here. So I can export this directly to Transistor. When I click publish, it's going to open up Transistor right away. I just select the show that I want this to be in. I give it an episode title. In this case, it's already brought that in. And it's going to process the audio from Descript. And it's also going to automatically bring in the transcription for Descript and then include that on your website, but also in your RSS feed. So any of the apps that support transcripts, like
It'll be there.
Apple Podcasts now, it'll be there. So yeah, if I clicked published on this right away, and this is a private podcast. If this was a public podcast, the share link would have had the transcript automatically in there.
Cool.
One more thing. We have live customer support 24 hours a day, real human being, no AI, no chat bots. There are people always online, even though we're a small team, who want to help you out. And so
Amazing.
We have people that are switching to us just to get better customer service. We really care. Sometimes you're going to get me, one of the co-founders. Sometimes people ask me, why should I choose you over Anchor or Spotify for podcasters? I said, well, I'm pretty sure Daniel Eck, the CEO, is not answering your support tickets.
That's a safe bet, yeah.
We're a small team that really cares about podcasters. And we hired Helen in the UK so that we would have 24-hour coverage. Her full-time job is customer success. And then anybody that's online during North American hours are going to help you as soon as you ask in this live chat widget. So this is a great feature that I think doesn't get talked about enough, having a real human being that just wants to help you. And sometimes podcasting can be messy. So there's, RSS and how do I get over this thing? Apple Podcasts, sometimes you have to add a payment in order to get it through. And you just need somebody on your side that can walk you through all that stuff. And we're here to help you out. We're also happy to answer questions about monetization and marketing. We want to help. So live chat right inside Transistor. We'll answer right away, often within 5 minutes.
Wow.
And it might be a co-founder. It might be someone who's just dedicated to customer success. But I think that's one of our best features.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to ask that. And that's because that's something that we get asked about a lot is the customer support, because a lot of people that are getting into the world of podcasting, they're already overwhelmed by the tech. And even though it is as simple as we can make it, there still is things that you have to learn and things do come up. So being able to talk to a real person is becoming an increasingly valuable thing because more is getting thrown into AI and it's harder to solve a problem now.
Oh, and I think we've all had that frustrating. I mean, a big one is, because you can host multiple podcasts on Transistor, folks will often import multiple podcasts, but that's stressful.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just need someone to walk you through it and say, like, is it okay for me to delete my old account? And what's this 301 redirect? How does it work? We can just walk you through each of those steps. If you just need a little, some calm.
Yeah.
Here, it's going to be okay. Let me walk you through it. I'll be here the whole time. So, especially when folks are importing multiple shows, they might be paying for multiple shows somewhere else.
Yep.
And they just want to bring them all under one account and reduce their monthly hosting costs.
For sure.
Great opportunity to just jump on live chat and say, help me out here.
Amazing. Yes, if you want to give Transistor a try, you can do so using the links down below. And you can know now firsthand from Justin himself that there'll be help and support along the way. So you can feel confident that you'll get your show up, running, and going however you want it to.
Yeah. And thanks for this opportunity, Ben. This has been really, really great.
Yeah, no, it was great to finally connect with you. And this was awesome. So thank you so much for walking us through it. And I'm sure it'll help a lot of people in getting their shows going.
Thank you.